So what do you know about the Defense of Marriage Act?
I don't know anything about it, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
We're only freshmen here.
While most of us were still infants back in 1996, former President Bill Clinton signed the Defense of Marriage Act. It basically says that while one state recognizes a same-sex marriage as a legal union, another state does not have to recognize that same marriage as a legal union. DOMA also says that the federal government defines a marriage as a legal union between one man and one woman as husband and wife. At the time of its enactment, it was widely supported by both houses of Congress and easily passed through both the House of Representatives and the Senate before being signed into law by President Bill Clinton. Today, though, it has been widely contested. 8 federal courts, including the First and Second Court of Appeals, have declared DOMA unconstitutional. In addition, both President Obama and former President Clinton are currently in favor of repealing it. And what do you know about Proposition 8?
It was about same-sex marriage, and that it didn't really get through. Like, the vote was like maybe, it was really close, like maybe 48% for same-sex marriage, and the other 52 wasn't.
What ended up happening, the voters of California decided to vote to prevent gay marriage to happen here in California.
Proposition 8, on the other hand, might sound a little bit more familiar to you. It began back in 2000 when California voters passed Proposition 22, which was a state mandate that said only marriage between a man and a woman is valid or recognized in California. However, in 2008, California's Supreme Court declared Prop 22 unconstitutional. As a result, Proposition 8 appeared on the voter ballot in 2008. It had the exact same wording as Proposition 22, except it was an amendment to the state's constitution. After Proposition 8 passed, the Ninth Court of Appeals declared it unconstitutional in 2012. So why is marital status so important? Well, it primarily comes down to benefits. A married couple recognized by the federal government has access to approximately 1,138 federal benefits. Some of the more well-known ones include the right to joint adoption, the right to collect a deceased spouse's social security check, the right to change a last name, the right to make medical decisions for the spouse, the right to a prenuptial agreement, and the right to inherit property. On March 27, 2013, the Supreme Court heard arguments regarding the Defense of Marriage Act. On the prosecuting side is Edith Schlein Windsor. When her wife died in 2009, Windsor had to pay a $363,000 tax on her wife's property in order to inherit it because the federal government does not recognize her marriage as a legal union. As a result, she sued the federal government on the grounds that DOMA is unconstitutional. Usually, the United States Attorney General defends the U.S. government. However, Eric Holder refused to defend DOMA because the Obama administration also thinks DOMA is unconstitutional. So, the bipartisan legal advisory group from the House of Representatives decided to defend DOMA on behalf of the government. Therefore, the Supreme Court must decide if the House of Representatives is allowed to represent the U.S. government before they can rule on the constitutionality of DOMA. If they say no, the case will be thrown out, but if they say yes, the case will proceed. Then the Supreme Court will decide whether or not DOMA violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. If they decide that no, it does not violate the Constitution, then DOMA will become the supreme law of the land again, and it will be enforced in states that overturned it. If they decide yes, DOMA violates the Constitution, then they will overturn the Defense of Marriage Act, and the federal government will have to recognize same-sex marriages in states where it is legal. Proposition 8 also faces a similar process. After the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals declared Proposition 8 unconstitutional, the defense, Dennis Hollingsworth, filed for an appeal with the Supreme Court. Normally, a state's attorney general or the state's governor is supposed to defend state laws. However, they both refuse to defend it. So, Hollingsworth, a representative from ProtectMarriage.com, volunteered to defend Prop 8. So, the Supreme Court must first answer the question, does Hollingsworth have the right to defend Proposition 8? If they decide he does not, then the case will be thrown out. But if they decide he does have the right, then the case will proceed. Then the Supreme Court will answer the question, does Proposition 8 violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? The Supreme Court could say yes, Proposition 8 is unconstitutional for 3 different reasons, all of which have to do with the belief that it's everyone's right to get married. Or they could say no, Proposition 8 is not unconstitutional because states administer marriage licenses, not the federal government. Eventually, the Supreme Court could determine the constitutionality of Proposition 8 and DOMA. There's just a really long and complicated process they have to go through before they reach that point. Should every consenting adult be able to marry a partner of his or her choice?
They should not allow the gay marriage because it's really against Bible, and the culture should not do that.
My honest opinion, though it is widely considered unusual and distinct from the general population, there is nothing wrong with it. Honestly, it's a harmless act.
One of the biggest arguments they're pulling up about same-sex marriage is that it's undermining the kind of idea of marriage, which is to start a family. So my question was, if the biggest reason they're pulling up against 2 people of the same sex getting married is that they can't have a biological family, what about people who are sterile? Are they now not allowed to get married either?
Because it's only fair, and isn't this like a country of freedom where you can be with whoever you want, do whatever you want, whatever happened to freedom, right?
It's just unnatural for like guys to marry guys, girls to marry girls.
Because love is love, and life is too short to worry about these things, and it's nobody else's business, and honestly, nobody knows what's truly right and wrong, so you should do whatever you want.
Should homosexual marriages receive the same federal benefits as a heterosexual marriage?
That would be kind of unfair, like discriminating if they didn't because of same sex. Like, we're all humans, we're all human beings. We should have the same rights, equal rights for all.
What level of government should determine laws on same-sex marriage?
I really don't believe that the government should be involved in defining marriage. I personally think marriage is a religious issue.
State?
Why do you say state?
Well, because I say that if people don't want same-sex marriage, and I don't know.
If there is someone who doesn't agree about it, then they have a choice.
How could the Supreme Court's decision affect Homestead students?
A disadvantage, an injury to the kids who were children of people, of parents that were in same-sex relationships, if their parents couldn't be married, because those kids wouldn't have the stability that kids have whose parents are able to get married.
It is a monumental decision in terms of it is part of the civil rights movement, essentially, for me, and so I would say it's an opportunity for Homestead students to witness history.
I think that like the big focus on gay marriage right now is actually kind of a distraction from like the actual human rights issues that the LGBT community faces.
Okay.
What would you say are those issues? Like homelessness and like abuse and like actual like violence against people. Those are all like really common in like the trans community, and it's like a thing that a lot of people don't know about and a lot of people kind of like brush aside.
Green states allow same-sex couples to get married. Purple states allow same-sex couples to form a civil union. Blue states have mandates that ban same-sex marriage. Orange states have constitutional amendments that ban same-sex marriage. And red states have constitutional amendments that ban civil unions and same-sex marriage.